and the bad of Connecticut's real estate crisis. Tonight at 11.
Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey end. That we did not turn back, nor did we falter. And with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations.
The inauguration of Barack Obama. This is a special edition of NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
A live picture of the White House tonight, and while it's true that the 44th president begins his new administration in the midst of a deep economic crisis, while it's true American troops are on the ground fighting wars on two fronts tonight, what happened behind us in the nation's capital here today before, as far as we can tell, the largest crowd ever assembled was American history, plain and simple. A spectacular day in Washington, a spectacular crowd. We have a new president. We have a new and young first family. And when it was all over, when the cheering had stopped, it then continued along the parade route as husband and wife got out of their limousine, walked the route, and then retired to the reviewing stand. They are allowed to enjoy this night and feel good about it all for just tonight. Tomorrow morning, he walks into the Oval Office and a whole lot of work awaits. That's where our chief White House correspondent Chuck Todd comes in, leading off our team of correspondents covering what is our lead story this night and for many to come. Chuck, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. Well, yes, his day is going to start very early tomorrow, but his night's also going to end very early tomorrow. Right now, the Obamas are getting their first moments of downtime inside the house as the first family. We do expect sometime in the next few minutes that the president will go into the Oval Office for the first time as president, but he's not going to do much official business. Meanwhile, the First Lady still has to make a big decision about tonight. She is yet to decide what dress she's going to wear. Apparently, she has the choice of quite a few designers. They're going to visit 10 balls tonight. They're not going to get back. I'm told they're not going to get back to the White House at 4 in the morning. If they're already saying 4 in the morning, that probably means more like 5 in the morning. As for the business at hand, a few quick notes. The Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, put out a statement halting all regulations, pending regulations that the Bush administration had issued. There are now 6 actually confirmed cabinet secretaries, but one big one that hasn't been confirmed. That's Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. Her nomination will be held up 24 hours. And then finally tomorrow we will see new business, some executive orders signed, possibly that executive order that begins the process of closing Gitmo, Brian.
All right. Well, as so many people in Washington have said tonight, that's what tomorrow is for, the work. So their morning ends at 4 a.m. Chuck Todd on the north lawn of the White House with the new first family inside. Thanks. Emotions were already heightened in Washington today when a heck of a scare arrived. It was during the luncheon for the president right after the swearing in. Ted Kennedy, the lion of the U.S. Senate on the Democratic side in the middle of treatment for brain cancer, had suffered a seizure, was en route to the hospital. Our own Kelly O'Donnell covered the story as it unfolded on our live coverage. She has the very latest for us from the Capitol behind us tonight. Kelly, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. Here's what we know right now. Senator Kennedy will stay overnight in the hospital, not in the intensive care unit. He will be in a regular room. And doctors say they've done some tests, and their best guess right now is that fatigue may have today's seizure. Now, when we saw Senator Kennedy earlier today, he certainly looked well and appeared very excited to attend the inaugural ceremony. Now, he's 76, and he spent more than 2 hours outside in that really, really cold air. And then a little bit later inside the Capitol, he was among those attending the luncheon, and President Obama came over to his table, embraced him. And then a number of senators I talked to say they witnessed Kennedy suffer the seizure, and they were very concerned. Many started praying. Some of his close Senate allies and friends were with him when the ambulance came, took him off to the hospital. And tonight, Senator John Kerry made a visit there, and he says that Senator Kennedy is laughing. He's doing better. His Irish is up, if you will. And he reminded us that this kind of seizure is a part of the brain cancer that he's dealing with. As Kerry put it, it goes with the territory. Brian?
Kelly O'Donnell on Capitol Hill. Great job of a very genuinely tense moment in the middle of an otherwise happy day in this city. Now, all of the people who arrived today, just a small percentage of them are going to be fortunate enough to have a ticket to gain admittance to one of the 10 inaugural balls going on all over Washington tonight. You heard Chuck Todd say this enterprise could go till 4 in the morning where the Obamas are concerned. NBC's Ann Curry pulling a double or triple shift. She's at one of them, the Commander-in-Chief Ball that is already underway tonight. Ann, good evening.
Good evening, Ryan. We've just learned that President Obama is going to be making prepared remarks, about 20 minutes of prepared remarks at the Commander-in-Chief's ball. And what's significant about that is that a significant number of the 2,000 invited guests here are war wounded. We're talking about people who have gotten Purple Hearts. There are 250 Purple Heart recipients here. You know, Mike, the Joint Chiefs Chairman Mike Mullen is here, but this is not really about the five-star generals. There are not a lot of five-star generals here. This is really about the rank and file. And what we've also learned is that this was a specific request of Barack Obama. He wanted junior officers and he wanted war wounded. And so it's possible, Brian, given that this is the only place where Barack Obama is supposed to be making prepared remarks, that there could be some interesting conversations that he may be having, interesting things he may be able to say tonight about the war and also about service, Brian, which of course was a major theme of his inauguration speech. Now back to you.
All right, Ann Curry, thanks. I can't think of a crowd that deserves a nice night on the town on a big day more than that. Ann Curry at the Commander-in-Chief's Ball. And then there are all the regular folks crammed into this city. They witnessed history today. They're still just kind of in the moment and enjoying it tonight. NBC's Rahema Ellis has been out there with them all day. That goes into the night. Rahema, good to see you again.
Indeed, Brian, good to see you. And you know, these folks with me don't have tickets to inaugural balls, but that doesn't mean they're not going to party. You partying? Brian, people have come here from California, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, and they say a ticket is not the reason that you party or not party. As you can hear, they're a hearty bunch. They've got hand warmers and toe warmers. One woman told me that they came here from Cincinnati, Ohio. It took them 2 days because their bus broke down. And they said it means they're going to be partying way into the night and probably when the sun comes up in the morning because it took them so long to get here. They can't imagine that this party would stop now. Another woman told me that every time that Obama is talking, she's crying. And when he's not talking, she's partying. Nobody is leaving, Brian. It's a good time, and they are undaunted by the cold weather. As you can see, a real hearty bunch. Brian?
As you are too, Rahema. I can't wait to see and compare notes about your experiences out there. Rahema Ellis with the people on the Mall in Washington. Thanks. Immediately after lunch was over, the inaugural parade got underway. We discovered by dubbing it Flatbed 1 that our own indomitable Andrea Mitchell had one of the best vantage points on the whole day on a flatbed truck directly in front of the new president's limousine. She has survived the trip, joins us from the White House lawn tonight. Andrea, good evening.
Good evening, Brian, and what a day it was. It may take days or years to really absorb the significance of what happened to America today, even for those of us who were lucky enough to have a very close-up front view. It was no ordinary inaugural. Not just the enormous crowds braving the cold and the security lines for hours to see this particular passage of power. But there's also electricity in the air and the high rent seats among the very important persons as the assembled senators and House members sit in here. And because of Barack Obama, it's no longer a sea of white faces. Celebrities, civil rights heroes, and millions more drawn by the desire to witness history, to celebrate and preserve the memories. People, as far as the eye can see, not a patch of green all the way to the Washington Monument. This tells the story of what Barack Obama's inauguration means to Washington, to America, and to the rest of the world. When he finally emerged, he seemed, even in this throng, so solitary, somber, perhaps already feeling the weight of the world, even before he was transformed into the leader of the free world.
I, Barack Hussein Obama,
his very name opening doors, as did his speech to the rest of the world. The ceremony acknowledging a debt to the sacrifices that made this day possible. The final blessing from a civil rights icon, the Reverend Joseph Lowery, changing the tones of official Washington.
We ask you to help us work for that day will not be asked to get it back, when brown can stick around, when yellow will be mellow, when the red man can get ahead, man, and when white will embrace what is right.
And the mass flickering of cell phone cameras on the mall seemed like stars shining back at him. Now the 44th president in his new car, finally getting to see the admiring crowds who had waited so long.
He's waving at the crowd, surrounded by Secret Service. Michelle Obama is also out of the car. They're walking up Pennsylvania Avenue. I'd say they're maybe about 50 yards from me right now, walking up Pennsylvania Avenue, walking slowly. Brian, the crowds are going crazy here. People are just piled up on bleachers out front of the office building just as the Obamas are approaching.
The walk made their new connection to Washington, D.C. all the more personal as America gets to know a new first family.
One day can't fully erase what the new president called the bitter swill of civil war and segregation, but today it sure felt as though we'd come a long way. Brian?
Andrea Mitchell at the end of a long day of reporting. Thanks. And that one brief snippet of the excitement in Andrea's report, that's what it was like in this city all day long today. But what about the speech that launched a new administration? My partner Tom Brokaw will be along with more on that after this short break.
Tomorrow, from the celebrations to the inaugural fashions, the sights and sounds of Inauguration Day. Tomorrow on NBC.
The least I can do to show that I really do support him and I believe in his mission, I can put up with a bit of cold insecurity to see a moment in history. I don't think it really matters whether or not I'm going to see him. It's just being there. It's being there with 4 million other people that believed him when he said that voting for him was bringing something new to this country.
The good and the bad of Connecticut's real estate prices. Tonight at 11. Brad Drazen and Yvonne Nava. Weekday mornings only on NBC 30. Good and the bad of Connecticut's real estate prices. Tonight, you're buying a home, selling a home, or own a home. NBC 30 travels from town to town to see where the bottom's fallen out and where property values are still holding. Tonight at 11, following a special hour on the inauguration of Barack Obama.
You're waking up to a major winter storm.
This storm really packed the punch across Connecticut. Very heavy snow in the northern third of Connecticut.
All changed over to sleet within about an hour.
All those school districts closed today.
It's a real historical event, and to be a part of it is just exciting and tremendous.
It's going to be great. It's great to show off our band to the whole country. 4 million people. I've never seen that many people before.
Of course I'm nervous. I'm nervous like a lot, but I just know that the day that we have to play, that the band will be great.
This is the meaning of our liberty and our creed, why men and women and children of every race and every faith can join in celebration across this magnificent mall, and why a man whose father less than 60 years ago might not have been served at a local restaurant can now stand before you to take a most sacred oath.
We're back here tonight, and that portion of the speech, that right there, was probably the most personal declaration on the topic of race in the speech. But it should not be forgotten and will be long remembered. The speech was a change in direction on politics. Tom Brokaw was here with us to hear it all and has thought about it in the intervening hours. Do I have that about right?
I think you do, Brian. It was not as stirring as I Have a Dream, Dr. King at the Lincoln Memorial. It was probably not as memorable in terms of pieces as John F. Kennedy and Astronaut. Certainly Lincoln in the second inaugural with Malice for None. But at the same time, it was a sober speech that reflected the times that we live in now. And on two very big points, he made the message that he gave the message that he wanted to. He said to the American people, we have to accept our responsibility. It's the price and promise of citizenship. And then he said to the world, we're open for business again. And that, I thought, was really one of the most striking parts of the speech. So let's listen to that for a moment.
And so, to all the other peoples and governments who are watching today, from the grandest capitals to the small village where my father was born, know that America is a friend of each nation and every man, woman, and child who seeks a future of peace and dignity, and we are ready to lead once more.
I'm going to say that American power is not just about rockets and tanks. It's about alliances and diplomacy, and that was a big part of his campaign, and he said all of that with President Bush sitting off to the side, but they remained very cordial to the very end.
David Gregory thought the statement, ready to lead once more, was such a rebuke that he was then surprised up there on the platform to see President Bush hug him at the conclusion of the speech.
Well, I think the president was determined to be cordial. He knew it was coming. After all, it was the way Barack Obama ran his campaign. And the way he's been dealing with his friends in all of this, President Bush now on his way to Texas, he's been saying, well, that's just Washington. It's the political thing. But that was a statement that Barack Obama felt strongly that he needed to make, not just to the world, but to this country as well.
We have, 30 seconds left. I'll tell you what else is Washington, and that is the way in this city uniquely. You can feel the departing power depart, and you can feel the axis tilt. A new era started today, palpably.
It did, and there's a majesty about it, and it's reassuring, and it's renewing, and it's been going on for a long, long time, and everyone can take pride in that, whether they're Republican or Democrat or Libertarian, that the system worked again, and we now have at the White House a new president and a new family and a new cabinet, and we've got tough work to do.
Well, it was great having you here to watch it all together with our team and family here today. Tom Brokaw.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back in a moment here tonight, how this was seen around the world, all of it from start to finish.
Keith Olbermann on President Obama's historic speech.
We are ready to lead once more.
Countdown with Keith Olbermann tonight only on MSNBC.
If you asked anyone of color if it was going to be possible for a black person or a person of color to become president of the United States, they would have said, absolutely not.
Because of all the lives that were lost, Martin Luther King's dream will be a reality.
Those are memories that will last forever. And then you look back and say, I was really a part of history.
This contestant is definitely airborne.
I actually fly aerobatic biplane. You're like Snoopy.
But will he crash and burn?
Veteran up there. He wants to shoot you down.
On the next Deal or No Deal. Tomorrow at 4.
The good and the bad of Connecticut's real estate crisis. Tonight at 11. Whether you're buying a home, selling a home, or own a home, NBC 30 travels from town to town to see where the bottom's fallen out and where property values are still holding. Tonight at 11. Following a special hour on the inauguration of Barack Obama.
You're waking up to a major winter storm.
This storm really packed a punch across Connecticut. Very heavy snow in the northern third of Connecticut.
All changed over to sleet within about an hour.
All those school districts closed today.
I feel like I'm a part of history now, and it
gets my heart racing every time I talk about it.
That's one of the major things I hope he accomplishes as president, to change the face of prejudice in America.
I'm hoping that we get all the way there, all the way to the White House, see my man Barack Obama just step foot in there.
It was just one of the places they were watching. They happened to be watching our coverage, and we're grateful for that, at Bagram Air Base in Kabul. Actually, a place where we last visited this past spring. Americans in uniform, out of uniform, people all over the world. An estimated 5 billion in all. How they estimate such numbers, we don't know, but that's how many people they say will eventually see what happened behind us here today. Our own Donna Friesen sampling opinion of all of it today, along with us from her post in London. Donna, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. Yes, America's euphoria is spreading across the globe. Many people tuning in to see this moment of history unfold, and they are the beginning of a new era.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Those who couldn't be there in person were with him in spirit. From parties in Paris to Obama City, Japan, to London, where the U.S. flag was raised at City Hall. The symbolism of Barack Obama's inauguration was a potent force.
People are excited, they feel like they can do anything. Even young kids are like so excited. Like my little two girls, they both want to be president now.
Barack Obama
in every language, the world watched.
He is president, the challenge vast.
Even in Cuba, state-run TV ran an unprecedented 3 stories on the new president. And in Iran, though there was no mention of the inauguration on state TV there, news of it still spread. America has always been Iran's biggest enemy, this woman said. I hope Obama can change this. In Kenya, birthplace of Obama's father, they partied all night.
We say that our blood has been mingled with that of the Americans, and it didn't mingle for nothing.
And from Nelson Mandela, a letter of encouragement. Your election to this high office, he wrote to Obama, has inspired people as few other events in recent times have done. But America's new president knows he has bridges to build.
To the Muslim world, we seek a new way forward based on mutual interest and mutual respect.
In Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim nation, and in Pakistan, his words resonated. I hope he will treat Muslim nations properly, this man says, so peace will prevail. Even in Gaza, the family of Sami Abu Asr managed to find a small TV to watch the inauguration. We hope he focuses on the peace process, this woman says. We've had war. Everything has been destroyed. For now, he is the man of the moment. Front page news across the globe, and many hope the man who can navigate the world through the new century.
And the leader whose mantra has been changed, now faces, has the whole world waiting for him to deliver. Brian?
Donna Friesen in London, where she was watching this long distance all day. Donna, thanks. And coming up, if you missed it, even if you've seen it once already, some of the sights and sounds from this day.
Watch an embed video from every inauguration speech, from FDR to Barack Obama, only at inauguration.msnbc.com.
The least I can do to show that I really do support him and I believe in his mission, I can put up with a bit of cold insecurity to see a moment in history. I don't think it matters whether or not I'm going to see him. It's just being there. It's being there with 4 million other people that believed him when he said that voting for him was bringing something new to this country.
NBC 30 News, weeknights at 5, 6, and 11. Connecticut's news leader. The good and the bad of Connecticut's real estate crisis, tonight at 11.